Hey guys, what's up? So remember we had that whole situation of a Jinzo card that was kind of blurred in like a reveal in some kind of magazine. Well, now we've actually got what might be the final card for the Jinzo archetype, and actually it helps out not just Jinzo, but it actually supports machines a little bit more as well. This is special titanium metal. It's a quick play spell card which says 1. If you control a Jinso, select and apply one of the following effects. Machine monsters you currently control are not destroyed by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn, or when a machine monster you control is targeted for an effect, negate that effect. Now, this card was referenced in the original Duel Monsters anime. This was in the Battle City tournament when Joey Wheeler tried to use the power of his Time Wizard against Jinzo. The spin was correct. He called it right. It was heads. Normally, what that does is it will destroy all of your opponent's monsters. However, what Esperoba says is because of Jinzo's special ability and kind of being a futuristic being, it has the armor that can shield it from this effect. So this is what this is trying to do. I like how this card is designed because being a quick play spell means it can be activated both during your turn and your opponent's turn. So it actually has that kind of flexibility that it needs. If this had been a normal spell card, I don't see it being played because unless you're going for an OTK or an FTK, it's not likely to do much. However, this is able to kind of counteract your opponent's strategy, and actually it goes beyond what you might have thought was for the deck. I would have thought this card would have been a Jinzo only card. Yes, it still requires you to have a Jinzo on the field, but it can impact on all your machine monsters. So if you splash, because Jinzo isn't really still that full of an archetype, it needs quite a few more cards in order to be useful, so it has to kind of be splashed into other archetypes just to see like full use. This would be quite effective within other machine-based decks, just to further support them. So you have, for example, Machine, a structure deck that came out. You have other machine type decks such as Morphtronics that might be able to use this in some capacity. My only concerns are people still aren't running that many trap cards, so Jinzo as an archetype is still a bit meh. Its relevance kind of would have died off quite a few years ago. And I think, generally speaking, you might need maybe spell negation in there as well, like a spell version of Jinzo. That might make it a bit more useful. The first effect being able to prevent card destruction is quite decent. I would say the one problem with that effect is because it's a destruction effect. If your opponent is able to have like a send-based card, like send this card to the graveyard, or use something like compulsory evacuation device, anything like that, then cards like this can be a bit useless because they're not destroying those cards; they're just removing them from the field. I think it would have been better if it had just been machine monsters can't be affected by any card effects until the end of the turn. That way it would be seeing more play. There are smaller monsters now that can have such as removal effects. As for the second effect, I like this because with a lot of cards now, they have effects which specifically target, and these apply to spell traps and monsters. So it's more universal than what you might imagine. The artwork on the card I don't think is that great. I just really I don't like it. I think it would have been better just to kind of emphasize the armor, whereas in the lower picture it just shows like some sort of weird kind of shield. This wasn't really depicted in the anime. It kind of just showed like this glossy coat on Jinzo, which when Joey used the Time Wizard effect. Um, I think they should have captured that in the image rather than what they have, which is like a split between showing the higher form of his body and like two weird kind of backgrounds across it. I think the artwork could have been much better. What do you think of this card? Where do you see it being used? What type of deck would you see it functioning well with? Leave your comments down below, like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe.